This is one of the amazing stories about fairies and magic for children. Once upon a time, there was an Egyptian girl who was named Cleopatra. She was very lonely as she always had to stay in the palace to be safe. She wanted to have an adventure. One day, she found an old room in the secret passage of the palace. She spotted an old chest. Locked, she sighed. Then she found a brass key on the broken table. "There's the key," she exclaimed. Immediately, he opened up the chest with the key. She rummaged through the old scrolls that had yellowed over time. Image source at www.storyjumper.com. At the bottom of the chest, there was a flute. "I love the flute," she cried. Cleopatra started to play it. Suddenly, she found herself in a magical place as she opened her eyes. "Where am I?" she wondered. Then, she looked around. She saw mountains and a rainbow. Next to her was a unicorn. Cleopatra looked up and saw a pegasus and a beautiful bird. "I must be dreaming," she thought. Cleopatra saw a little girl skipping down the road. "Gretel," she called. "How do you know my name?" Gretel asked. "I heard a tale of Hansel and Gretel," she replied. "My name is Cleopatra." "Nice to meet you. Welcome to the land of fairy tales." "Would you like me to show around?" said Gretel. "Yes, but I came from a place far from here. I have to get back home soon," said Cleopatra. "Don't worry, we'll get you back home. All wishes come true here. We'll go to see the mermaids first," said Gretel. "Mermaids? I love mermaids," Cleopatra exclaimed. Gretel gave a loud whistle. The pegasus that Cleopatra had just seen before came right out of the sky. "Hop on," cried Gretel. Then the pegasus took off. Cleopatra and Gretel arrived at the mermaids. There was a beautiful waterfall with two mermaids swimming at the bottom. "Cleopatra, this is Catherine and that's Joseph," informed Gretel. They greeted each other. Catherine, the mermaid, was also very fond of playing flute just like Cleopatra. Cleopatra said, "I came here because of this flute. I found an old flute in an abandoned room and played it. Next thing I knew I was here." "That's very strange," said Catherine. "Here, take this lily so that you'll always remember me, and you should really go to see the fairies. They will make you fly." "Thank you, Catherine," said Cleopatra. "We must be on our way," said Gretel. "See you later," Gretel called as they got on the pegasus. The mermaids waved. Cleopatra waved back and off they went. Gretel and Cleopatra landed in a forest. "Fairies," said Cleopatra. "And is that Snow White?" "Yes," answered Gretel. "Hello, Snow White. I'm Cleopatra. Pleased to meet you," said Snow White. "Where are you from?" "A place far from here," answered Cleopatra. Then, Cleopatra looked at a fairy. The fairy sprinkled some dust on her. Suddenly, Cleopatra lifted up into the air. "Wow, I'm flying," cried Cleopatra happily. Cleopatra flew everywhere. She flew over the mermaids, beyond the trees and above the clouds. It was the best day of her life. Gretel, I had the best time in my whole life. But I really must go home before it's too late. Oh, you are right, said Gretel, disappointed. I promise. I'll come back, said Cleopatra. Gretel gave her friend a hug. Okay. So how did you get here? Asked Gretel. I was playing the flute, said Cleopatra. Gretel told Cleopatra to blow the flute once again if she wanted to get back home. They waved and said goodbye to each other. Cleopatra started to play the flute. Gretel just stared at her friend, stunned. Music notes swirled around her until Cleopatra reached back to her palace.